Hey, what's up, Chad Trades here. In this video, I want to give you a full step-by-step guide on exactly how to day trade SPY. I'm going to show you the exact way I trade it. So for those of you that don't know, this is the only thing I trade. I only trade SPY. I really don't trade anything else. And really, it's all you need to make good money with trading because it helps you keep a more clear focus since you're just watching one thing throughout the day. So not only will I give you a full plan and guide on exactly how to day trade SPY, but I'm also going to be showing you some trade recaps I took today on SPY using my exact plan and system that I'm going to be revealing to you in this video. Okay, as we can see, I kind of separated this into three columns, right? So this is kind of one of how you want to think about trading. There's kind of three steps before you go to actually take a trade or make any money. So the first thing you need to know is the key levels, okay? So the way I look at key levels is basically supply or demand, which we'll go over. Next thing is support and resistance. I also call these intraday levels, okay? So basically support and resistance. The way I think about this is where we have extremely aggressive selling or extremely aggressive buying, okay? So I'll show you that in a second. And the next thing, the reason why you want to look at key levels is because this is what's going to tell you when to enter or exit a position, right? And I want to say this will tell you when to potentially enter or exit position. Just because we're at a support or a supply or demand or resistance, right, doesn't mean you should just enter a trade blindly. The next reason I only enter at key levels is because it limits your risk to trading, okay? So this makes it so you don't have as much risk on the table. You can put your stop loss at a very limited risk. And if the trade works out, you're gonna have a lot more reward, okay? So once you're actually in a key level, this is where you can go and look for confirmations to take the trade either short or long, depending on if we're in supply or demand or support resistance, right? So for me, I'm always looking for at least 3 confirmations. If there's not 3 confirmations, I do not want to take the trade. Okay, so you have to think of this in probability, okay? You'll never get a trade that works 100% of the time. You'll never get a setup that works 100% of the time, which is why the more confirmations you have, the more likely the trade will work. So that's kind of a good way to think about it. Okay, so for me, I use very specific confirmations. A lot of people use different stuff. Feel free to use whatever you want. This is just what works for me. This is what makes most sense for me. Okay, so you have to figure out what makes most sense to you. So first thing is candlesticks. Next thing is volume bars, right? So this is everything around price action, okay? We also have the VWAP indicator I like to use. VIX divergence, that's another good one you can use. And also patterns, okay? So notice how if we have 3 of these, we can go ahead and take the trade. Now, once you have confirmations, right? Let's say we enter the trade. I'll show you an example of that in just a second. Now we can actually execute, okay? So where are you putting your stop loss? Where are you actually selling? For me, I try to only sell at key levels. Once you do sell the majority of your position, are you holding runners in case we have a bigger sell-off or a bigger run-up, depending on if you're in shorts or longs or puts or calls, right? So anyways, now that you kind of see the system I follow, let me go ahead and show you the trade I took today, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to mark your levels on the chart. So as you can see, I had a 30-minute supply zone at 4,300 marked on my chart before the market even opened, okay? So the market opened around right here at 7:30 my time. So the reason why it says 30-minute is because this is a 30-minute supply zone. So what we'll see on here is literally on Monday, as we can see, we had price come up, right? It was coming up for a while. And once we got to this level, we had a massive sell-off. Now on Monday, I did not know this was a supply zone. But now since we got that aggressive sell-off, like 30 points down, the next time we came up to here, right, I knew this was a supply zone. Basically the way we draw this is, let me just zoom in here. I basically want to see a green candle for a supply zone, and I draw a box from the top of this candlestick to the very bottom, okay? So this is kind of how I get my supply zone. This is the zone where sellers stepped in and we had aggressive selling that followed all the way through. Then obviously I did the same thing with a demand zone. So as we can see, yesterday we had a demand zone here where basically price reversed here and we end up rallying up We got all the way up to almost 4,300 during the overnight session. Okay, so let me go back into the 1 minute chart. So that's the first thing you want to do before the market even opens. So this is something I write out inside my Discord group every single day. If you guys want to join this group, it's completely free and open to the public. I'm going to leave a link in the description below and you can join it. And this is where I basically write my pre-market plan and I establish the levels. Okay, you can see we have the supply zone written on the chart. We have our demand zone and all that good stuff. So we're kind of just in the middle of the range. So basically what I did from here, only knowing this information, right, I wrote a plan for that. So as we can see, I kind of wrote my supply, my demand, the current price, and I said, here's a few scenarios I'll be watching today. So I said, number one, the first scenario I'll be watching is price to show weakness at our supply zone at 4302 level. And I said, number two, I'm not too interested in longing up here, so I'll be watching for trades to form in real time that I can't see yet. Keep in mind, a lot of trades can form in real time that we can't see before the market opens, okay? So anyways, notice what I said here. I'm gonna look for price to show weakness at our supply zone. So I'm not saying I'm gonna get in just because we're at a supply zone. I'm gonna wait for it to show weakness. So as we can see, market open, we immediately started ripping up straight to our supply zone. Okay, so once we got into the zone, okay, we got in right here, and we were kind of in it for a few minutes, right? Now I'm looking for weakness, okay? So this is where we go back to system and we look for these confirmations. We look for candlesticks, we look for the volume bars, we look at the VWAP indicator, we look at VIX divergence, we look at patterns. Okay, and like I said, I need at least 3 of these in order to take the trade based on my trading system. So anyways, the first thing that you already saw, if we go back to the 30-minute time frame, we can clearly see a pattern here, right? Once we came up here, this was a double top, okay? So that's the first pattern I had, a double top, okay? We got one confirmation. Now let's go into the minute chart, and if we look at here, what started happening, right? Once we got up to this level, there stopped being aggressive buying, right? It kind of slowed down. So this was the first sign of weakness, which is basically price started slowing down. Every time we got into the zone, right? Price wicked down. There's a heavy volume bars of people trying to push the price up, but there is no follow through. So what happens when you see massive volume, but there's no follow through? That means if those buyers get too exhausted and they start dumping their position, right? Obviously that's going to create a massive sell-off. Okay. That's going to create an aggressive sell-off. So based on that, right? The candlesticks, the price slowing down, the patterns, also, we have VWAP right here. As you can see at the time, price was pretty far away from VWAP. So what tends to happen is price will navigate back towards VWAP, right? Because that's the average price that a lot of people find fair value in. So as we can see, we basically had 4 confirmations to take this trade. We had price slowing down. We had the candlestick wicks. We had the volume bars, high volume, but no follow through. Right, we had the VWAP indicator is trading pretty far away from it. And we had that double top pattern. So these were all confirmations that price was showing weakness. Now, once I actually took the trade, right, now I basically follow these 3 steps: stop loss, sell at key levels, and hold runners. So let's go ahead and kind of go over that. So I got in on this second pop. So basically we came up into the zone, we sold off a little bit. Once we retested it, this is where I actually got in. I got in at 4303 and I had my stop loss 3 points above. So I had my stop loss at 4306. So I was risking 3 points on this trade. That's where my stop loss was. As we can see, once we made a high a day right here, right, we immediately wicked down. That is a very, very good sign. So this gave me another confirmation. We kind of formed a double top within this little zone. And we had a nice sell from there. Then we popped back up. And this would actually be a good entry on this pop back up because you only had to risk, again, like 2 points or so on this. Anyways, we had a nice sell from there and we gravitated back towards VWAP. So that was actually my first target, was VWAP. As we can see, this is basically acting as support. This is where we had aggressive buying towards the beginning of the day at this level. So for me, this is kind of our support level. It wasn't a demand zone. It wasn't anything crazy like that. It was just a simple support level. that I used as a target. So if I go over to our Discord, I'll go inside the market updates. As we can see, I put the 4303 short is working, taking some off at VWAP. And then basically from there, I said sold 80% of my position down here. We'll hold the remaining 20% in case we get a bigger sell-off, right? And that goes back to my system, like I said, where I'm gonna hold runners, right? That's kind of the last part of this. So anyways, let me move this screen. And as we can see from there, I basically sold, like I said, 80% of my position at this VWAP. And I was holding runners to my next target, which was this demand zone way down here. As we can see, we had a nice sell-off after this all the way into this demand zone. Okay, so that's the first kind of trade I like to take. The second kind of trade I like to take when it specifically comes to SPY, right, is basically using support and resistance. So obviously this used supply and we targeted a demand zone. Now, let's say you missed this trade, right? You didn't know there was a supply zone there, and you completely just missed the trade. So how else were you able to take a trade in the first few hours of the market open? Well, another excellent trade that you could have gotten that follows the system that I actually use is support and resistance, right? So again, key levels. Now, for some people, this can be kind of confusing, right? Because as I said, a lot of trades can form in real time that you can't see before the market opens. And let me give you an example of that. As we can see, we came off the supply zone. We had a pretty aggressive sell-off, right? And VWAP was pretty much acting as support for around, 15 minutes or so. As you can see, once we broke that level aggressively, not only did we break the support, right? But we also broke the VWAP, which is another, confirmation, right? Now, chances are that support is going to turn into resistance, right? And this is where you have to adapt and read what the market is telling you in real time and not just, sure, you can make a pre-market plan, but it's always going to change, right? The market is constantly changing throughout the day. Okay, so after we broke this support aggressively and I was in no position, this is where I would potentially take a trade where if we got to pop back up into resistance, I could take this short. So basically this zone right here was acting as support. As you can see, once we broke through it, it's now acting as resistance, broke down again, acted as resistance, broke down again, and it actually gave you another opportunity to get in short. As you can see, you could have used that VWAP as another confirmation to get in. You could have used price slowing down, kind of trading sideways as a confirmation, right? We had a little bit of a pattern here. We were forming, lower highs. So that right there is 3 confirmations to get in the trade. You take this and then you target that next support level, which we eventually got to, which was our demand zone down at 42.75. So anyways, guys, that is how you actually day trade SPY. This is the trading system I follow. Like I said, mainly using supply and demand and also using support and resistance and watching what the market does in real time and then looking for confirmations to actually enter the trade and having good execution throughout the trade. So this is the exact system I use. The key to this is getting good at recognizing these confirmations in real time, recognizing how levels can change in real time, like the example I just showed you where, support can turn into resistance, looking at that, being familiar with that, and getting that screen time in. So anyways, guys, like I said, if you want to join our Discord community where I share my market updates, I share my levels and my game plan that I'm watching every single day, and you get access to our group chat where you can network and, ask questions with all our other members. Like I said, this is completely free and open to the public. I don't charge any money for this. All you have to do is click on the first link in the description below, or just head over to this link right here. I'd love to have you inside our community, trading SPY with us every single day. So that being said, guys, as always, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Trade smart, trade safe. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in my next video.